Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 527. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by, oh my goodness. So there are so many ways to describe Jen Lassalle,
I
who
like
is, who is a fantastic author of women's fiction. She is and has been a coach with Best Page Forward and Author Ad School for years, has helped me manage our wonderful self-publishing live events, and
Oh,
is soon going off into her own pursuits, including being a big part of the author sustainability conference. Jen Lassalle. That's it.
hello.
That's you.
Hello. I love
Hello.
it when you talk me up. I need to record that and listen to it every morning.
Maybe I could do that like a Kickstarter thing. It's like Brian pump you up message.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Make a note.
Make a note. Make a note. So
I'm
many
happy to
notes.
be here. Yeah, so many
Yeah.
notes. But I'm thrilled
Yeah.
to be here. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I think you've co-hosted once before, as I
That's right.
recall. And so
Yes.
I'm very happy to have you back for these next two episodes.
Double
Um,
duties.
Double, so fun. You're going to be speaking at Self Publishing Live in
Mm,
October in North
yeah.
Carolina. And obviously, the virtual event after will have your wonderful recording stylings. So, um, I asked you to speak in part because you have so many things that a lot of authors have to deal with. The momness of
Mm.
raising your wonderful two kids.
One of who's
And
homesick right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. But there we go, like case in point. And also, you deal with a chronic illness that
Yes.
is going to sap your energy from time to time. And so, um, speaking to that, when a lot of authors are dealing with momness, grandmomness, and dealing with various health concerns, I really wanted you to speak also because you're awesome, but you have dealt with this and you have grown your book sales and you have grown your career. And so as we get closer to October, it's not as far as
Ooh,
away as it once was. Like
blink and it'll be.
what have you been thinking about as you start to prepare to talk about that subject?
It's funny. I have multiple sclerosis, just to put a name to my chronic illness. I was
Yeah.
diagnosed, oh gosh, like 17 years now. It was right
Mm,
after I got married and right before we were planning to have children. So it's
yeah.
it's it's been a road. And what's tricky about my specific chronic illness is that I can literally wake up tomorrow and be symptomatic and not just sap my energy. There are times I cannot walk, I cannot type, I can't use my left hand. I don't know who it was, but I was talking with a friend the other day about like when my children were born, I couldn't always hold my
Mm,
babies. So it's been a very, very long road to get here, but I've been thinking a lot about the flexibility that I've had to build into my world.
yeah.
And also I enjoy being a coach. I enjoy working with authors because I am an Enneagram too. I'm a big annoying helper. I'm like, let me do this thing for you. Um and having a chronic illness sometimes means saying no and letting people down, which has been really difficult for me because it goes against my nature to say, hey, I can't do that thing. And sometimes I will plan to do the thing and wake up and just not be able to do the thing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot and the flexibility that I've had to build into all of my systems in terms of this maybe worked today, but it won't work tomorrow. But
Mm,
also not being so hard on myself as an individual and giving myself, like, if somebody was a friend of mine came up and was like, hey, I'm not feeling well today, I would be like, oh my gosh, take all the time you need, what can I do to help you? But we don't always afford ourselves that same grace.
right.
And learning that I can't just push through things and need to give myself the space and compassion that I would give to someone else has been quite a journey. So I've
Yeah.
been thinking about that a lot, and I'm going to talk about that a lot at Self Publishing Live and perspective, because I really think mindset and the way that we view ourselves and the expectations we have for ourselves fall into place a lot.
Yeah, and I love that you're going to be talking about this at Self
Yeah.
Publishing Live, because there are so many, I feel like so many self-help type things I read about are talking
Mhm.
about, well, you would never treat other people the way you treat yourself sometimes.
Right. And that's a lovely idea in concept. And I my friends will say it all the time that, I would never treat a friend the way I treat myself. But to actually like take that hard look at it and actually stop yourself when those thought patterns happen and become aware of how you talk to yourself and how you're treating yourself, that's like a whole other level of difficult. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I'm sure that a lot of these things that you've had to overcome and that you continue to have to overcome were part of the reasons why you and the Gens created this wonderful author sustainability conference that had its first meeting in February,
we did.
its first conference in February in Dublin. And then you're going to do it again.
We're gonna do it again next April, and I'm really excited. I love Dublin. I love the location. It's actually in Malahide, which is just outside of Dublin. It's
Mhm.
beautiful little, seaside hotel. But I love the idea of talking about sustainability as a practice, and not just this idea of recovering from burnout, but actually making yourself operate in a way that you can continue to operate for the foreseeable future. Like
Yeah.
creating longevity in your life is really what sustainability is about to me, not necessarily I tried to push myself for 6 months or a year or 6 years and it didn't work and now all of a sudden I don't want to do anything and I feel downtrodden, and that is equally valid, right? Because that
Right.
mindset has been around for a while too. But to start to shift that topic and just to shift those discussions to how do we do this realistically is really exciting for me. So I'm very proud of what we're doing over there.
Yay, awesome. And you can
Yeah,
find out more about the 2025 conference at authorsustainability.com.
come see us.
So
We're
go check it
fun.
out. Yeah, you guys are fun. Awesome. Well, let's get into this week. The one thing I don't have in my notes here, but that will go out to a lot of people
Ooh.
tomorrow, is that we are opening up our second half of the year Groundbreakers,
Oh, yay.
which was coached by Jem, but is now
Oh,
coached by the wonderful Scarlett Moss. And we will be opening up. I'm opening up another contingent of Pathfinders, which is the group that works with me over the course of the year. I mean, when one of your coaching students hits number one in the Amazon store for a whole week and another one hits their first $100,000 month within 2 months of working with you, you say, this is fun. Let's like
yeah.
do more of this. And
Yeah,
so,
it
yeah.
can definitely be rewarding coaching. I have a coach as well that I meet with quarterly. I think
Mm,
everybody needs someone that they can talk to that maybe has a bias or an anti-bias and can help guide you and move you in the right direction and see things that you can't.
yeah, yeah. No, I have a coach too, so
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Um, but I just emailed out about that this morning, so go check it out. And if you're interested in applying, I would love, love, love to work with you. So, um, let's go into the previous week's question, which was, at what point in time did you find your niche? How did you discover that? Lawrence Hebb said, I didn't. The niche found me. I've always loved thrillers, and some of the things I've been involved with read like a thriller, so I thought, why not put them in novel form? Love that. Uh, Scott Jones said, preteen, I've been reading as much as possible for as long as I can recall, but I've had the same few genre focuses for at least that long. Mostly, I wish I'd ignored everyone else and started writing professionally sooner. I
Oh
really
yeah,
like that. I
I
really
can
like
relate.
that. And then Lynn Collins Remiglass said, I wanted a type of story that would help promote positive perceptions of wolves and change the narrative about wolves in children's stories. One day it just came to me, and my children's book series was born. I love my little niche and hope the ideas keep flowing.
That's
Um,
so
yeah. Focusing on love is a good way to keep ideas flowing.
Definitely, you have to be excited about whatever it is you're writing it. I mean, we talk about writing to market a lot, but if you don't like what you're writing, quite frankly, I think it shows in your writing. But
Yeah.
also going back to that idea of sustainability, yeah, after a while, like if the enthusiasm isn't there, you're just relying on like grit and motivation, and those get tiring fast.
Yeah, those run out. Those
Yeah,
run out. Absolutely. Well, you can answer the question of the week over at Somewhere Book Show After Party Facebook group. Go check it out. We'd love to have you there. Top story of the week. Jen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
This
Don't
was
hate marketing, hate the game. Quote, authors hate what they think marketing is, says author and digital marketer Angie Isaacs for janefriedman.com. Quote, but the more I learned, the more my feelings shifted. End quote. Over time, Isaacs identified 3 common misconceptions about marketing that stand in the way of success for many authors. The first misconception is that you should always be closing, but constant selling can chase your audience off. Instead, focus on entertaining, educating, inspiring, relating to your audience, and even sharing some behind the scenes info. Quote, above all, your marketing should make your potential buyers enjoy following you. End quote. Another misconception is that once you've posted to social media, written a blog post, put up an ad, or put up an event, your job is done. But fans and friends will respond better to your posts when they know, like, and trust you. Quote, pushy marketers take without giving back to the community. If all you do is push your own content, it won't work. End quote.
yeah.
Instead, build a relationship first. When it is time to promote, your community will be happy to listen and maybe even help. Finally, don't believe the myth that you have to be everywhere. Quote, consistency matters more than doing it all. End quote. Remember, you won't get anywhere if you burn yourself out. Reframing your marketing from selling things to building makes a huge difference in how you feel about marketing, and it's much more effective. Jen, we've talked about this exact kind of thing.
We have.
What first came to you when you read this post?
Well, there's a couple of things, and one of them is a little bit of tough love and love, and with a little bit of a shout out to the introverts who probably read that and shuddered internally. They were like, "What do you mean I have to talk to people?" Um, I think there is a misconception, not just in the author community, but in the world, that everything has to be fun and positive to do. And yes, marketing is tough. And yes, there are going to be parts of it that you don't like. But if they are working for you, I don't think teachers love grading papers. When I when I had a day job as a developer, which was a lifetime ago, right? I didn't necessarily enjoy doing the technical documentation. It was
Right.
a part of my job, and I think that we try to avoid all of the things that are difficult or that give us negative feelings. But in my opinion, we need to maybe stop avoiding things that feel bad or feel ucky and question why instead,
Yeah.
because it's a job. Our author career is a business, and that means that sometimes some of the hats that we wear are not going to be as fun as some of the other ones. But if you have the means, then you can always hire someone else to do those things for you, which
Right.
is lovely. Yeah,
Which is lovely, but of course, a lot of our listeners that they don't have that budget, and so you do
exactly.
have to kind of suck it up. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
You do have to face those negative feelings, which I think is why, because negative feelings come up when trying to do hard things. It's
Hmm.
one of the reasons why mindset and dealing with how you deal with negative thoughts
Right.
is so important, and it's why when some authors are able to work very hard on improving their mindset and their positivity, even if it's difficult for them, of course,
Yeah.
right there again, they are then able to handle things like the marketing better
Yeah.
because they can now cope with those negative thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of always go back to why. Why does this make me feel a certain way?
Mm,
And is that valid or is it real? And what can I do with that? But I do love what she said about building a community around your message. And that goes back to my why, right? Like I had to think about, why am I marketing? And do I hate marketing because I feel icky about it because I don't want to talk to people? Or do I hate it because I really want people to like me and I'm worried that they won't? And when I realized that it was more of the latter, then I was like, okay, So am I talking to the right people? Because if I'm talking to the right people and I understand who my audience is, then it's really more like siding up to a friend and being like, "Yo, what's up?" than it is just cold out there. Hey, you too can enjoy my book for only $39.99. It makes me feel less icky and more like I'm creating something that I can be proud of and sharing something that I'm proud of.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I had to get Rocket the cat back up here. She was just meowing into the ether. And I said, "No,
Mine
kitty,
disappeared.
it's
Yeah,
okay."
Butterfly's in here somewhere, and she will probably make another appearance. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait. Hot potato wisdom questions, Jen.
All right.
What are some ways authors can get over negative feelings about marketing?
I think one of them is a big one would be question why you have negative feelings about marketing and what you can do to either alleviate those feelings or just kind of push through them. If they're negative for the wrong reasons, like they're making you feel uncomfortable about something, then I would invite you to sit with that and kind of go through that negativity. If they're negative because you just don't like to do it, then you have to assess, do I not like to do this more than I don't like achieving goals? Because one of those
Hmm.
things is going to win.
Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot. It goes back to many, many years ago. Jim Kukra on this program talked about what's your pain point. Would you
Hmm.
rather do the painful things so that you don't feel the pain of low sales and no success?
Right.
And you just kind of have to decide on that. I think you've got a question for me, Jen.
I do. What other misconceptions do authors have about marketing?
One of the things that is a misconception that authors tend to have about marketing is that you've got some people succeeding at a certain marketing task, and you think, oh, they must have succeeded because it was easier and the success they have is so
Mm.
enticing. I need to take that course. I need to follow this person. I need to do that thing. When, of course, you're already doing two other things just like that with
Right.
other people. But in reality, when someone succeeds at a marketing task, they have either worked extremely hard at it and gotten very good at it over time, or they are naturally inclined to that thing.
Yeah.
And so if you are not naturally inclined to that thing that they are successful at, then you're going to have to go the hard work route. But it means focusing on it and devoting a lot of time and attention to it.
Right.
And so you might actually want to consider, let's look for things I'm naturally inclined to that might be a better marketing fit for me.
Right. What feels more natural for me and how can I use that to achieve what I want to achieve in life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we're excited to talk more about that possibly in the question of the week. We'll talk about it later. But I've got a lightning round here, Jen. And
Well,
as you know,
I have to make a sound.
you have to make a sound. So let's do
Okay.
this.
I'm going with wah, 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 wah.
Ooh, I like that. That was like an old timey silent movie lightning.
It's like Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. You get questions on the Sell More Book Show. I love it. I love it, Jen.
Um,
Uh, I have got a question for you.
okay.
Is the best marketing really writing the next book?
So I love this question. And initially I was like, yeah, of course it is. And then I kind of thought about it and I modified my answer to it's writing the next right book,
Ooh,
whatever that means to you, because the best marketing is writing the consistent book and writing the series that's working and writing what is in line with your goals and who you are as an individual, not necessarily just writing the next book.
yeah, I love that because we have a common coaching student, you from last session
Yeah.
and this session, and we've had a lot of talk about, well, what is the next right book? Um, and she just had a great successful launch, and she was trying to decide between, well, do I jump now to the book of the heart or do I do the next book in that series? And we definitely had to talk that out because the answer isn't going to be the same for each person.
That's right. And if that's the same student I'm thinking of, I know during my 6 months of coaching with her, I did not give her permission to write the book of the heart yet. So
I I I kindly, gently allowed her to make the decision for herself to write the next book in that
she'd earned
series.
it. She'd earned it by then.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. She's going to listen to this and be like, guys,
No, it's so awkward. You're talking about me.
exactly. You have got a question for me now.
How many books do authors need to write per year to succeed? What's the magic number?
Ooh, the magic number. Here's the magic number of how many books an author needs to write per year to succeed is, wait a second, you've got to define what success is for you. Plenty of authors who are happy write one book a year or fewer than one book a year, and they are perfectly happy because they are not necessarily setting a pie in the sky income goal. Their goals might be different. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if your goal is to increase a not out of the question percentage from the previous year, then you likely need to write more books than the previous year. But you also have to decide on, well, can that fit? Is my energy level going to work with that? Do I
Yeah.
have a lot of things going on this year? I see lots of people trying to write tons of books the year that, oh, their first kid that they had is moving to college
Mm-hmm.
and doing all this stuff. And it's like, no, you need to take a family year. You can't necessarily write 20% more books to increase by 20%. And so, sorry, I couldn't give you the magic number
On it.
because your mileage may vary. So, Jen,
Yeah.
a lot of authors are trying to do more,
Mm.
but this can leave them burned out. How can an author do more by doing less?
So I love this question. I would say we get stuck in ruts.
Mm,
So periodically, I always encourage people to evaluate what you're doing and what's really working and maybe what's not working and not being afraid to pivot. And definitely, whenever you get expert advice from anyone, even me, understand why the advice is being given to you or why that worked for a person so that you can assess whether or not it really works for you. Because I think a lot of times we try to do more because we hear, oh, that person's doing so well on TikTok. And so I must go do the TikToking. And I'm never going to TikTok. I can't even bring myself to open up the app on my phone most of the time. So I just had to understand that I can do more on Instagram where I already am than over on TikTok where I have to put in additional effort.
yeah,
Mm.
and knowing yourself is going to help you
Yeah.
make those decisions because yeah, if you know you can't even open TikTok, then don't do TikTok.
Yeah. Chronic
I like that.
introspection. I like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. Jen, what common mistakes do authors make in wait, no, you're asking this to
I was
me.
going to ask you that
Ah,
question.
son of a gun. I like thought
Good.
about it beforehand.
I didn't want to answer that one. What common mistakes do
Uh
authors make in marketing their books?
so yeah, I wouldn't have had much for the next
I
question.
know.
Um so I think the common mistakes authors make when marketing their books are usually trying to do too many marketing things to sell their books. I think about a launch and how 80% of the results of your launch are going
Hmm.
to be based on how big your list is, your email list, and your following. If you have a smaller following, then yes, you could pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to get more on that launch, but you're just going to have to do the same thing again the next launch.
Right.
So you need to focus sometimes on doing less. Well, why can't I get a bigger launch without spending a ton of money? It's because I don't
Right.
have a big enough following. Well, then let's focus on growing the following.
Right.
And then you are going to not have to pay as much to make the next launch work.
Build those readers who are just anxious for your next book and will devour whatever you put out. That is the best.
Yeah, you want those readers to have so much anxiety about you. No, no, just kidding, just kidding. Jen, a real question to you, and the final
Okay.
question of the lightning round. So, as an author with a chronic illness, MS, how do you balance your author work life with your fluctuating energy slash ability to do work levels?
So I'm a big fan of boundaries, which are not always easy to institute, but knowing when I am pushing myself too far and being able to acknowledge that I can't take on more at a certain time, or even just knowing this is a busy time of month. And so stress and fatigue tend to make my chronic illness flare up. I tend to look at my calendar and go, maybe I can't take on more. Maybe I can't say yes to that thing. But mentally, I keep a list of what I call low energy tasks. And those are not just low physical energy. Sometimes it's things that I can do that are low mental energy. So if I'm feeling good physically, but I'm brain foggy, I still have things that I can do so that I don't get caught in that cycle of feeling like I'm not doing anything for my career and blaming myself for that, or getting upset about something completely beyond my control, the fact that I have a chronic illness. And so having something that I can put on a list and check off no matter how I'm feeling, even if it's minor, has been really, really helpful for me.
I
And
love
I
that.
build in space for the unforeseen. And I think that, by the way, is a life thing and not a chronic illness thing, because there's always something unforeseen. Add an extra
Space.
week to that deadline if you're able to, because
Oh
you
man,
just
yeah.
never know.
Space for the unforeseen. I like that so much, Jen.
You can use it.
I'm gonna always credit you if I do. So, um, that's great, and thank you for sharing.
My
So,
pleasure.
Jen, we need a question of the week. We could talk about the marketing hatred. We could talk about
Mm,
anything we discussed. What do you want to ask our audience?
I think what I have come up with is evaluate what you're doing right now. And the question is, are you doing anything right now that you could release and it would benefit your author career?
Ooh, I like this. I'm typing furiously.
Type furiously.
I'm typing anxiously.
You can
Uh,
type it happily if you want to.
Oh, great, great. Dumbledore said calmly. So, evaluate what you're doing right now. Are
So
you
many
doing
numbers.
any Are you doing anything right now that you could release to benefit your author career?
Yep.
Great question, Jen.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I had to throw in my only adverb joke.
Well, I'm sorry, Stephen King, if you're listening. We really like adverbs
We
today.
really do. We really do. So you can answer the question of the week at sellmorebookshow.com or in the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. Anyone in Ireland should certainly go to the Author Sustainability Conference. But did
Yes.
you know that people outside of Ireland could also go to the Author Sustainability Conference?
Fun fact, I am outside of Ireland, all the way in New Orleans, Louisiana. It is not an Irish conference, it is a conference in Ireland, and we would love to see you there.
Absolutely. And if you're like, I live in North Carolina, I'm not going to go to that. You can still see Jen
Yes.
at Self Publishing Live in October.
And if you're
Um,
wondering, I'm a hugger. So if you feel like you need to come up and hug me, I'm down for it.
Jen is a very wonderful hugger.
Aw,
Absolutely. Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm
I
excited to get
know.
a hug in October.
Same. I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, um, Jen, it's been great having you here.
this was
I
fun.
appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. It was a good time. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. So you can see Jen again next week or listen to
Yeah.
Jen on the next episode of the Sell More Book Show. For Jen, I'm Brian. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. And we'll talk to you next week for episode 528. Bye.
Bye.